So much, Bill. Hi, everybody. My name is Freada Sylvester, and I'm a Senior Program Manager within the Microsoft Teams engineering organization. And today, as Bill mentioned, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Teams, and specifically how Microsoft Teams can help empower all of our workers, and including our first-line workforce. Did you know that there's actually 2.5 billion first-line workers out in the world today? And we look at those first-line workers primarily as shift workers. They're first with our customers, first with product and operation, and really first to represent your brand. And you find these shift workers across all different types of industries, right? In retail, in hospitality, in healthcare, in education, and they're really the pulse of most of our organizations. And what we hear a lot as we work within the enterprise is these folks tend to feel disconnected. They don't necessarily have access to all the tools that traditional knowledge workers would have access to. But again, they really represent our brand, and they're the first line that our customers and partners really get a chance to interact with. And so when we were building out Microsoft Teams, a core consideration for us is how can we make sure that we empower all workers to be able to achieve more. And so that's really what I'm excited to talk to you about. And so today we're going to talk about how Microsoft Teams can help empower that first-line workforce. So I'm going to talk here about a couple of sort of key pillars of ways that we can help empower our first-line workers to be able to achieve more. And the first is around communication. I'm not sure how many of the folks that are listening today might have heard of employees using, personal sort of consumer-grade applications to be able to communicate and collaborate with both with their employees and potentially with customers. And obviously, this poses a risk to our organization. We want to make sure that we have a way that's fun and engaging, but sanctioned, right, and able to be managed and monitored appropriately so that we protect our most important valuable assets, our workers and our IP. And so we look at Microsoft Teams as providing a really rich communication opportunity to our first-line workforce and giving them all of the experience that they're used to in their personal lives, right, in terms of being able to do rich chat with Giphies and emoticons and all of the fun things that get us to respond very quickly in our personal lives, and bringing that now into the corporate culture. And then we hear a lot that it's really challenging to be able to share information with this particular user group, right? They don't necessarily have access to our internal intranet sites or file shares, and I've got to be able to communicate really, really important information out with these particular users, and I'm not really sure what to do. I know I've worked a lot with retail organizations, and every time there's an update to an employee handbook, it's actually printed out and put in the break room. And that's not efficient, obviously, and it's costly, and you can't really ensure that that important information has made its way into that particular employee's hands, right, and that they're able to consume and internalize that information. And so with Teams, we have an opportunity to be able to share in a safe and secure fashion important content with our first-line workforce. And then we move on to access to industry apps. And this is a great opportunity to take that proprietary line of business functionality that you've probably got built out and move that into the Teams experience. So here what we're showcasing is actually a flight bot that we helped one of our airline customers build, and this is where flight crew can actually go and grab information necessary to be able to have a really great flight experience. As we go through this, I always challenge people to think of what are the tools and technologies and processes that you've built out over the years, and is there an opportunity to potentially move that into Teams? And finally, and this is definitely something that's unique, I think, for shift workers, is the ability to manage schedules. When I was growing up a very long time ago, one of my first jobs was actually as a waitress, and that was a hourly shift job, and I had a schedule, and I had shifts that I was scheduled to work in. And I remember how challenging it was when my schedule would change or somebody's schedule would change, and the fire drill that would sort of go off every time we needed to make an update to our schedule. And then also, I'd watch my managers, they would try to figure out what that work week would look like. And literally, with pen and paper and a calculator, adding up, how many hours were available that week and who was going to be able to work them. And so with the new Shifts app and Teams, we've managed to modernize that experience and, again, bring it into Teams. So today, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on slides, but I wanted to we'll really get to dig in and show you what these things look like, but I wanted to take a chance and sort of ground you in the guiding principles and experiences that we're trying to bring into Teams. Couple of things I just wanted to talk about here. In addition to providing a really great end user experience in Teams, it's important that an organization has the ability to easily manage that experience. And so one of the things that we've recently released is something called an app setup policy. And this allows admins, along with business leaders, to come together and figure out what should our experience for these workers look like. And so through this app setup policy, which I'm not going to demo today, but showing you a screenshot here, and we can certainly help you find more information if you're interested, you can customize the view that your workers will see when they initially log in. And I think this is really important because part of how we make sure that users adopt this is there's features and functionality that they're going to gravitate towards, but that it's simplified, right, and it's personalized to help suit their needs. And so here with the app setup policy, you have the ability to pin and unpin what your users will see when they log in on that initial experience. And I'll show you what this looks like as well when we move into the demos in the app. But I think it's a really great thing to point out that we're trying to build out a really robust end user experience and give administrators all the features and functionality that you need to be able to successfully manage this at scale. So I'm going to talk through some of the core experiences within Teams. We're talking about communicating through chat, and I'm going to show this to you. We have the ability to have private chats, one-on-one or group conversations. These are threaded, persistent, and contextual chat conversations. You can share information in an open and transparent way. We can communicate across geographies. So I have the ability now, right, to potentially meet new people, understand how other people within my organization might function. It's just a great way to foster cross-organization collaboration. And again, we talked a little bit before about humanizing the workplace, making this fun and inviting and robust, and feel very similar to what we're used to doing in our personal lives. At the end of this webinar, I'm going to turn this back to Bill to showcase a video that we put together with an amazing customer, Marks and Spencer, so that you can see how they've managed to leverage Teams to empower their first-line workforce to achieve more. All right, and then I talked a little bit about shifts before, and we showed you a screenshot, but I'm going to walk you through later today what the shifts experience looks like in Teams and what the shift app looks like, both from the manager's perspective as somebody who creates shifts, and then as a shift worker, so that you can understand how easy it is for me to be able to go ahead and look at my work day and my work week and make changes if I need. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and move over to a demo. I'm going to quickly stop presenting for a second while I pull up my phone, and we're going to start on the mobile experience. And we're going to start there because I think for most of this particular workforce, their experience really is mobile. And so I want to be able to show you how easy it is from your personal device to be able to get started with Teams and do some really cool things. So while I'm doing that, I'm just going to ask Bill if there's any questions coming in.
Yeah, just one about the integration with various back-end billing systems. So what's our integration story of these first-line features in Microsoft Teams with existing services?
So I think that's a great question, Bill. Traditionally, what I hear a lot from customers is, hey, especially when it comes to the scheduling component, this is awesome, but I have this really, sort of robust and mature workforce management system, on the back end that has all the logic built in. Is there anything we can do to connect with Teams? And I think the great news there is, yes, we've partnered with some really big organizations, workforce management providers, to have supported integrations with Teams. So companies like Kronos, we're able to seamlessly connect that to the Teams experience. And what that allows you to do is essentially take advantage of all of that workforce logic and workforce management that your organizations put together, and then use that to generate schedules that help you comply with all the various regulations and rules that you have to comply with. And what's awesome is now you have sort of a front-facing UI, a presentation layer that's super easy for your end users to consume, which historically we've heard is a big gap for lots of organizations. So that's such a great question. And the answer is, yep, we have the ability to integrate with various partners today, and that ecosystem continues to grow.
Thank you, Freada.
Yeah, absolutely. So give me 1 second while I pull up my phone. And I can't wait to show you what the experience looks like. Almost there. All right, so I'm going to reshare my screen, and you're going to see my phone. Perfect. All right, so here we are, and this is Teams on the mobile device. And what I'm showing you here is a really simplified chat and channel view. And so before, I know we talked a little bit about how admins will have the ability to customize the view that your users see when they first log in. And this is really the genesis of it. So you can see a simplified UI. At the bottom bar, I've got 3 quick pivots that I can move to: activity, chat, and shifts. We're currently in chat. That's where I opened up my my Teams mobile client, and I can see here channels, and channels are part of the teams that I'm a part of. And then I can also see my chats, and these are the one-to-one or one-to-few chats that I'm having with various folks within my organization. We'll start here, and I just want to show you a little bit about how much fun the chat could be. So I've gone into this on-crew group chat that we have going on, and there's a couple of things I want you to notice here. First of all, it's super easy for me to go ahead and just start typing. I'll just say, hi, glad to be back. And I'm going to send that off, and everybody's going to go ahead and get it. I can go ahead and share photos, so I can go ahead and take a picture, and I have the opportunity here to take from my personal camera roll, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually just going to leverage my camera. And you'll see here, I'm in a conference room, and I'm going to go ahead and just take a picture of something here. I'm actually going to call it a document, we'll just say. And I'm going to try to optimize that picture quickly, if it'll let me. Here we go. And it's going to optimize that, and it's going to zoom in on the things that were important in what I was just taking a photograph of. And I have the ability as well to annotate it. So I'm going to go ahead here and just circle something. I can change the color. I can circle something else. I can do whatever it is that I like with this picture. I can crop it as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and send this and say, check this out. But imagine a scenario. I work a lot with retailers, right, where let's just say there was an issue with a particular display. You know, an employee can now go up to that display, take a picture of it, write information important to whatever that picture, for the context that they were taking that picture, and then share that out with an individual or with a group of individuals or their associated team, and have everybody understand what needs to happen, and then respond and have rich conversation around it. So I love the picture experience. The other really cool thing, and I'm just gonna move over here, and you guys noticed I took this, I'm on my personal phone, I'm just gonna hop over to my photos over here, and the picture's not here. And pictures of my daughter are there, and my husband, but the pictures that I just took in Teams aren't there. And I think that's really important to highlight, because natively in Teams, we sort of quarantine everything off. And this is always a concern for organizations when they think about what their mobile device strategy will be. But what we've really tried to do with Teams is develop a secure, robust experience first that doesn't require you adding in lots of third-party tools and special functionality in order to ensure a safe space. The other thing I just wanted to show here is I also have the ability to go ahead and drop my location. And so I'm going to do that here, and you guys will see where I am. I'm based in New York City. I'm going to send that. And now everybody in this chat, whether it was a one-to-one chat, group chat, or within the context of the channels, can see where I am. And this is especially great for those field workers. I know I worked with a large manufacturing company that would send techs out to various locations to be able to service their machinery. And we talked a lot about how having the ability to share your location through Teams was really going to transform the way that these particular field workers worked. It would make it super easy and efficient for them to find where they needed to be. And if they were meeting colleagues, for them to be able to find where their colleagues were. So loved being able to showcase this. And then obviously I have the ability to go ahead and pull Giphies, and so we can say here, you know, I don't want to get up. I'm sure we all felt that way yesterday morning. I'm just going to go ahead and share it off there. And again, we're having this really rich chat conversation. I also have the ability right here at the top right hand of my screen, you'll see a video icon and a phone icon. And I have the ability again to initiate a video chat with my colleagues that are in this particular group chat, or a phone call if I needed to. And so I think that's really robust and a tremendous opportunity again to be able to open up the lines of communication for these particular workers. The other thing I wanted to showcase here, and I love this, is the ability to do voice recording. So I'm just holding down the microphone that was right at the lower right hand of the text box, and I've just started recording. And we're recording this message, and it doesn't require me to install anything different or accept permissions, and then I'm just going to go ahead and send this off. And now my team has a voice recording directly from me that they can consume directly from within Teams. This is really great. I worked with mentioned a retailer earlier, and their store manager would basically have a huddle at the beginning of the day for everybody that was on shift, and would share sort of important information that they wanted to disseminate out to the team. But she constantly had to do this every time the shift changed. And so she loved the idea of leveraging voice recording to be able to have sort of like a daily to-dos, and share that out with everybody, and sort of give a little bit of motivation to her team as they started their day. So I love the voice recording functionality that we're showcasing here in Teams. So I'm actually going to flip back. And I'm going to move over to activity, and I'm just going to be able to show you how here I have a nice view of all the activity relative to the teams and channels, the shifts, the applications that I'm leveraging in Teams. And we'll talk more about what this, some of the shift stuff that you're seeing here, but I can see things like @mentioning, and you know, @mentioning is one of those functions that I think we're all used to in our personal lives when it comes to sort of how we communicate with folks across the different social media experiences. But right here, I can see somebody @mentioned me, so I'm just going to click on that. And I'm really glad I did. It's taking me to this particular onboarding channel, and you know, I'm playing the role of Christy today. So Christy was just mentioned by her manager Adele, and I can see that actually they've just shared out an updated copy of the employee handbook. And so earlier we talked about how Teams enables you to seamlessly share files and documents with anybody in your organization. Here, I'm able to just go ahead and click directly on Employee Handbook. And from within the Teams client, it's going to go ahead and open up that new modified Employee Handbook. And right here on my mobile device, I can go ahead and consume that content and not have to move out of context and move to a different experience. And I think that that's really tremendous. And then we can go ahead and have a conversation about it, which I just absolutely love. So I'll go back to where that was. I can see where I was mentioned. I can reply, thanks, I checked it out, and we're good to go. I can also go ahead here and like the message that Adele had sent off to me, and you can see here I'm showing different emoticons. It's not just about the thumbs up, but I'm going to go ahead and love this. And now Adele will get a little notification, and she'll know how much I love this. And I didn't even have to necessarily write the message I wrote before thanks. I checked it out. I could have just acknowledged it with an emoticon. But again, I think it's about bringing that really fun experience that we've all sort of gotten used to in our personal lives into the professional setting in a way that allows us to be able to want to collaborate and communicate more frequently. So I wanted to just take a sec before I move to the Fit client to just pull up the Shifts app quickly. And so, you know, I've got lots of shifts that have been scheduled for me. And this is the view of a worker, right, of an individual contributor in that first line scenario. And so I can go ahead and quickly see at a glance what my May is going to look like, what this particular week's going to look like. I can click into this I can see some really interesting things here, and we'll talk about how easy it is for managers to go ahead and create schedules. But I love right here, I can see some notes. I know what my daily sales goals are. I know what the traffic goal is. Information is right here at my fingertips. I also have the ability to go ahead and swap shifts. And so I mentioned earlier when I was a waitress, one of the things that just absolutely kept us all on our toes was who wasn't going to be able to show up for the day and who was going to cover them. And so here I have the ability super quickly to select somebody on my team who I want to go ahead and swap the shift with. I'll just go ahead and, click here. I'm going to select the shift that I want to swap. I've said that, and I'm going to say just because, and done. And then what's going to happen is it's going to send a request off to the person that I've requested to swap shifts with. If they accept it, it will also send a request to my manager for final approval. And what's really amazing there is as soon as my managers approve that, the schedule will be automatically updated. So again, it's sort of a one-stop shop for users to be able to understand what it is they're supposed to be doing, make changes, communicate those changes, and have that reverberate across all the necessary workflows. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out of here for a second. We're gonna say goodbye to Christy, and we're going to flip over to Adele, who's our manager. And I'm just showing here actually a view of the web app. So I'm signed in here. And I can see a lot of fun things. I'm actually in the activity feed. I can see here how Christy before just loved my comment about the employee handbook. So it's really easy for me to be able to understand what's happening. I can see that she's checked this out. I'm going to write back to Christy, and here's another function that I absolutely love and that we've recently brought to Microsoft Teams. But I have this ability to go ahead and, in 1 second, I'm going to show you our praise functionality. Give me 1 sec. We'll switch back, but essentially we've just brought to Microsoft Teams the ability to recognize somebody through praise. And we think that this is super important, not just for our first-line workforce, but for all workers, so that they continue to feel motivated and appreciated. So I'm going to go to praise, and I'm going to click that, and it's going to pull up a window here, and I can choose a badge that I want to go ahead and send to Christy. I'm going to choose the awesome badge because I do think Christy is awesome. I'm going to type her name in here, and I'm just going to say great job. And we're going to go ahead and send that off. And now Christy's going to get the badge. She's going to get that recognition. It's going to help Christy feel appreciated and connected to the organization. And here you go. You see that posted up here. So I want to shift over to shifts, no pun intended, or absolutely pun intended. And I want to go ahead and take a look at how we go about creating schedules. And actually, before I dig into that, I think I'll just quickly ask Bill if there's any questions from any of the people listening in today.
Yes. Alex asks if the task module will be in Teams will be standalone, or will it have to-do, Outlook, Planner integrations? So integrations with other Microsoft task management products.
So my understanding is that tasks will be a standalone to start, and I think our goal is to definitely have a cohesive, integrated ecosystem of applications. But when we do push tasks out, it will be separate. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you right here. You're looking at a view of a manager's view, and we're looking at a schedule. Right in here, I'm looking at a particular work week. I can absolutely change the view if I wanted to. I can look at the day. I can change the weeks that I'm looking at. I have the ability to, right here, if I wanted to look at a day view or the month view, be able to pivot very quickly and make the screen appear the way I need it to. But I'm going to go back to the week view because I found that's where that's sort of the way most organizations like to work. And then you can see here I've got lots of really great information that we've managed to populate. I can actually take everything that I have here, and if it doesn't change terribly drastically week to week, I can actually just go ahead and copy the schedule. But let's just walk into what it looks like. I'm seeing here that I actually have 3 open shifts, and I can go ahead and assign them out. Maybe we'll just click on the ellipses here, and I'm going to go edit and open shift. I can even just go and assign it, but I want to go ahead and actually just make some changes over here. I'm going to change this to cashiers. You can see I have the ability to add notes. I also have the ability to add activities. So if I want to note that somebody needs to take a break or lunch, or they need to take some other action during their time on shift, we can notate that here. So I've assigned these open shifts over to the cashiers. They can go ahead and decide who wants to take it. I'm going to save. We're going to make that change. I'm also going to come over here to Pradeep, and I'm just going to take a peek at his shift. I'm going to edit that. I'm just going to add a note. For regional managers, because they're going to come in that day. We're going to hit save. I can also go ahead and assign more shifts if I wanted to, but I've just made a couple of changes, and you'll notice that everything here is italicized, those two areas that I've made changes right here, and then we've gone ahead and we've moved that open shift over to our cashiers. That'll take a second to render up. Rather, over here, open shifts. And I'm just going to hit the ellipses, the top over here, share with team. And so what we've tried to do here is we know that managers that coordinate schedules tend to make changes sort of in clusters. And so instead of every time you make a change, having users get notifications and sort of bombarding them with notifications, you have the ability to save your changes, and then once you're finished, publish those with your team. So I'll just go ahead and say share with team, and it'll take 1 second, and yep, share with the, I'm only going to share this with the members that need to know about it. I could also share with the entire team, but you'll see here how that italicized text has now turned to regular text, and the changes have made their way to our team. So I think that's really powerful. The other thing I just wanted to point out is you have the ability to add day notes. So we saw what this looked like from the shift workers view when we were in the mobile before with Christine, but here's where I can go ahead and add any day notes that I want to cascade down to the entire team that will be working for that day. Just a super simple way for you to be able to communicate important information with everybody who's going to be on shift that day. And then as you saw when I clicked into the individual shifts, I have the ability to add specific shift notes. So again, how can we make sure that we're communicating with our workforce and that they have an easy way to understand this? And then what's great is you can go ahead and start conversations, right, in the chat tab or in the Teams and Channels tab to talk about any questions that you might have. And you can see here I've got a couple of conversations going on. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this changes in terms of requirements for everybody, Teams can also act as our phone. And so here I can click on calls, and I have my contact lists here. I have voicemail available to me. You can also go ahead and add new users here. I can group them together. And it's just a really easy way for me, again, within the context of this one UI, be able to do all sorts of different things. So I wanted to make sure to show that to you. And then I've also got a calendar view here where I can go ahead and schedule meetings. So if I did want to schedule a meeting with an individual or people on my team, I do have the ability to do that. And they can go ahead and click the link and join the meeting, similar to the experience that you guys have today as you join this call. But let's go back to, I'm going to stop sharing for a second again. I'm going to redo my screen mirroring for my mobile device. And while I'm doing that, I'll turn it back to Bill to see if there are any questions.
No additional questions. You're doing great. Thank you, Freada.
Awesome. All right. 2 seconds, and we'll end back on our mobile device, and we'll take a peek at some other really cool stuff that we've got going on. Okay. All right, awesome. Let me reshare my screen, and we'll head back to Teams. All right, folks. So we're back in Teams. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how I can make the Teams experience even more personalized for myself. So, the admins have gone ahead and taken care of the app setup policy, and they've pinned the experiences and the functions that they think that I might require. But I also think that there's some things here that they didn't account for and that are really important to me personally. And so right here from within the app, I can flip up and I have access to a whole bunch of other tools that were available to me in the Teams experience. Again, admins can go ahead and control what is available ultimately, but I can control how this looks. So I'm going to hit edit here, and I'm going to say, you know what, for me, I really want to have files front and center, so I'm just going to add them up here and click done. And now you'll notice on the bottom bar of the screen here on my mobile device that I have now added files. And files is something that I've decided is really important to me. Christy, I need to go back and review that employee handbook and lots of other information that's been made available to me and information I'm making available to others. So I have that here now, and I can click into it and it'll pull up files if I had anything recently there. But I just wanted to show you how you can go ahead and customize that view. And then again, we're back here at this the activity feed, right? And I can see here that I've gotten praise, and that just makes me feel so good. So I'm going to go ahead and love this. And I can see here that Dell's recognized that I've done a really great job. It just makes me feel super happy. Then I also just wanted to be able to show you here that I have some other settings that I can go ahead and play around with. I can actually go ahead. I want to show you dark theme. Give me 1 minute. App settings. So I can go ahead and switch this on. I'm not going to do this now, but essentially when I set this to dark theme, it'll change the color contrast in the application, and I'll have a dark background with light white, bright text. And I think that this is really important because, again, there's a focus on inclusivity, diversity, and inclusion here. And so allowing your users to be able to customize the view to maximize their potential is really important. And that dark contrast view is something that lots of people prefer, and they might not be comfortable going and asking somebody if there's a way to provide that to them. So I love to be able to talk about the fact that you can customize the view to make this experience meaningful for you. Just trying to think what other greatness do we have to show here. There's just a ton of fun stuff here. But I think we've covered quite a bit today. I think we were able to talk about, why teams for our first line workforce, how the experience is really rich and robust across modalities. So if I'm a mobile user, it's super easy to go and download the app from the App Store, type in my credentials, and be off to the races. We've demonstrated how we can have a really robust, rich experience from our computer and a web client, or a thick client if that's something that you decide that how you want to consume Teams. And how easy it is to really open up the lines of communication for every worker in your organization. So with that, I did want to end, before I turn it over to Bill to be able to showcase the Marks and Spencer video. I actually, let's see here, I'm going to take a picture and we'll put it in our shift screw. Let me camera. I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to post the most important thing we post today, which is Get Teams Today. And if you have more questions, please feel free to email us, workers@microsoft.com. And I would just say to get started with Teams today, start piloting. If many organizations don't realize that they already own the licensing for Teams, go and check to see if you do. If not, email workers@microsoft.com, and we'll help you get started with a pilot of Teams today. So with that, Bill, I'd love to turn it over to you to showcase the great work that we did with Marks and Spencer. And I'd really love to thank everybody for the opportunity to talk about Teams today.
Thank you, Freada. There's one more question before we get the video started.
Sure.
And that is, would Teams groups have a GPS coordinate like Staff Hub?
That is a great question. So we are bringing the ability to clock in and clock out into Teams. Which was something that came from our Staff Hub days, and with that was the ability to understand the user's location and geofencing. And so yes, that functionality will be in Teams as well.
Excellent. And with that, I'm going to thank Freada and start the Marks and Spencer video. So if you all can hang on, we will be starting that video shortly. Thank you.